This story is very meaningful. Everyone should hear it. Listen to Brian tell the story. I'm 35 years old, Jake Miller, and I've just walked out of my mom's house after her 24-year-old fiancé, Phil, begged me to call him Dad. My heart's pounding, my head's spinning, and I can still hear his voice cracking as he poured his soul out, tears in his eyes like I'd stabbed him by laughing. It wasn't funny, not really, but the absurdity hit me like a freight train. Me, a grown man with a mortgage and a dead father I still miss every day, being asked to play son to a kid a decade younger than me. I'm pacing my kitchen now, phone in hand, dialing my brother Matt because if anyone's going to get how insane this is, it's him. Let me back up a bit. I'm the oldest of three, me, Matt at 30, and Sarah at 28. We grew up in this quiet Midwestern town, two houses back to back with a gate between them. Mine's a fixer-upper I bought 5 years ago. Mom's is the family home where she raised us after Dad died when I was 19. He was a gruff guy, loved baseball and bad puns, and his absence left a hole we've all learned to live with. Mom's 58 now, Linda Miller, a tough woman with a soft spot for strays, human ones included. I work construction, steady and solitary, and I like it that way. Matt's a mechanic with a mouth on him. Sarah's a graphic designer who doesn't take crap from anyone, and we're tight, the kind of family that bickers but shows up. Then there's Phil, the latest stray mom's taken in, and he's turned our world upside down. It started last weekend at Mom's barbecue. Spring was creeping in, the air warm and smoky, and the backyard buzzed with neighbors. I was flipping burgers, sweat beading on my forehead, when Phil bounced over, all grins and energy. He's this wiry guy, 24 manga t-shirts, backward cap, like a puppy who hasn't figured out he's not the alpha. He'd been dating Mom since last June, proposed in the fall, and they're planning a summer wedding. I didn't care about the age gap. Mom's happy, he's nice enough, whatever. But he's got this habit of calling me Sport, Matt Blue, Sarah Princess, like we're characters in some sitcom he's directing. It's annoying, but we've humored him. Until now. That night, after the crowd thinned out, Phil caught me alone in Mom's living room. The place smelled like grilled meat and her lavender candles, cozy and familiar, the kind of scent that usually calms me down after a long day. I was sprawled on the couch, beer in hand, winding down. My boots kicked off by the door, the hum of crickets filtering through the cracked window. Phil plopped down beside me, too close, his knee jittering like he'd chugged a gallon of coffee. Sport, Jake, he started, voice shaky, his eyes darting to the floor then back to me. I've always wanted a family. Kids to raise, you know, man-to-man stuff. I nodded, half listening, figuring he was just nervous about the wedding, maybe needing a pep talk. Then he hit me with it. I know I can't replace your dad, God rest him, but it'd mean the world if you'd call me Dad. Like, for real. My beer went down the wrong pipe and I coughed, a sharp laugh escaping before I could stop it. His face froze, then crumpled, his big hazel eyes glistening like I'd just kicked his dog. I set the bottle on the coffee table, wiping my mouth, trying to process what I'd heard. Wait, what? I said, my voice rough, hoping I'd misheard. He leaned in, hands clasped tight, his knuckles white. I mean it, Jake, he said, voice breaking. I want to step up. Be there for you, Matt, Sarah. Provide for you, protect you, take you camping, hit a baseball game, teach you stuff. My jaw tightened, a hot flush creeping up my neck. Phil, I said slow, like I was talking to a kid, I'm 35. I've got a house, a job, I don't need providing for, and, dude, you're 24. You're younger than me. He didn't flinch, just kept going, his words tumbling out faster. It's not about age, Jake. It's about family. I never had a dad who stuck around. Mine bailed when I was 6. And I've dreamed of this, you know? Being the man of the house, having sons to guide. I'm ready for it. His voice cracked again, and he swiped at his eyes, embarrassed but desperate. I stared at him, my chest tight, a mix of pity and anger swirling in me. Phil, I said, sharper now, my dad's dead. He was my dad. You don't get to just step into that. He nodded quick, like he'd expected that. I know, I'd never replace him, but I could be another dad, a bonus dad. I snorted, couldn't help it, and his face went red. Bonus dad? I echoed, my voice loud in the quiet room. What is this, some step-parent handbook crap? He flinched, but pressed on, his hands gesturing wildly. I joined the Lions Club this year. Service, community, all that. I want to bring you in too as my boy. We could do stuff together, real father-son stuff. My head was spinning now, the cozy room feeling claustrophobic. Phil, I'm a Shriner, I said, cutting him off. I've been doing charity work since you were in middle school, and I don't even like baseball. He blinked, thrown, then rallied. Okay, no baseball. Fishing then. Or cars. Whatever you want. His voice broke off, and he looked at me like I held his whole world in my hands. I stood up, needing space, my beer forgotten. This is too weird, man, I said, my throat tight. I'm going home. He grabbed my arm, light but desperate. Jake, please, just think about it. I pulled away, my skin prickling, and walked out, the gate slamming behind me as I crossed into my yard. I didn't sleep much that night, replaying it over and over. Phil's tears, his shaky voice, it stuck with me, gnawing at my gut. By morning, I was on the phone with Matt, pacing my kitchen, the coffee maker gurgling in the background. He wants me to call him Dad, I said, my voice still raw. Like full-on father-son vibes. Matt's laugh boomed through the line, loud and sharp. What? Dr. Phil's lost his damn mind. Wait till Sarah hears this. She'll gut him. I rubbed my face, exhausted. Mom called last night, too. She's upset I rejected him. Says it's about proving he's a man or some bullshit. Matt snorted. Proving he's a man? He's a part-time hardware store clerk who collects manga. What's he providing? Discount screws and anime tips? I grinned despite myself, but the knot in my chest didn't loosen. She begged me to go along with it, I said, quieter. Says he's depressed now and it's on me. Matt went silent for a beat, then sighed. That's Mom, guilting us into fixing her strays. But this is next level nuts. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. I'm not doing it, Matt. Dad was Dad. Phil's Phil. Matt chuckled. Yeah, Phil's a walking midlife crisis in a 24-year-old body. We gotta tell Sarah. Family meeting ASAP. They showed up an hour later, Matt with his greasy work boots, Sarah in a hoodie, her dark hair pulled back tight. The kitchen smelled like coffee and tension as I spilled it all. Sarah's eyes narrowed, her mug hitting the table with a thud. He's a child, she snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Mom's 58 and he's out here playing daddy daycare with us? What's next? Timeouts and allowance? Matt leaned back, grinning. Maybe he's got a fetish for older siblings. Should we call him Big Papa and watch him squirm? I shook my head, half laughing. He's serious, though. Wants to take me camping. Join the Lions Club together. Like I'm his kid. Sarah groaned, pinching her nose. This is insane, and Mom's okay with it? I sighed, leaning on the counter. She's not just okay, she's pushing it. Says it's how he proves himself. Even hinted they're planning IVF. Matt choked on his coffee, coughing hard. IVF? At 58? Is she... He stopped, catching Sarah's glare. Don't, she warned, then turned to me. Jake, you're not actually considering this, right? I shook my head fast. Hell no, but Mom's voice. She sounded so small. I hate this. The doorbell rang, cutting through the tension. I opened it to Tina, our nosy neighbor, all perms and fake smiles, holding a flyer for some neighborhood watch meeting. Heard there was drama last night, she said, her voice syrupy, eyes hungry for gossip. Phil okay? He seemed off at the barbecue. I forced a shrug, my jaw tight. He's fine, just adjusting. She lingered, then leaned in, lowering her voice. You know Greg from the Lions Club? He says Phil's been bragging about inheriting a family. Weird, right? My stomach dropped, a cold prickle running down my spine. What do you mean inheriting? I asked, sharper than I meant. Tina smirked. Just what I heard, thought you should know. She sauntered off, leaving me rattled. Inheriting a family? Sarah said when I told them, her voice rising. What's that supposed to mean? Mom's got no money, her house is rented, her car's a junker. Matt frowned, tapping his mug. Maybe he's after something else. Control? Some weird fantasy? I didn't know, but it stuck with me, a dark thread weaving through Phil's teary plea. That week I couldn't shake it. Work was a blur. Hammering nails, hauling lumber, my mind churning over Phil's teary plea and Mom's shaky voice begging me to play along. Every swing of the hammer felt like I was pounding down my own frustration, the sawdust sticking to my sweat as I tried to focus. But it was no use. His words echoed, "Call me Dad," like some warped record stuck on repeat. By the time Friday rolled around, our usual family dinner loomed like a storm cloud. Matt, Sarah, and I had hashed it out over texts all week, agreeing to confront Phil together, a united front. I was dreading it. My palms sweaty as I walked through the gate from my yard to Mom's, the familiar creak of the hinges doing nothing to calm my nerves. Mom's backyard glowed with string lights strung across the old oak tree, casting a warm, flickering light over the picnic table. The air was thick with the rich smell of lasagna, her go-to comfort food, and a faint undercurrent of tension I could almost taste. She was humming some old tune, setting the table with her mismatched plates, oblivious to the bomb we were about to drop. Phil showed up a few minutes later, quieter than usual. His usual bounce replaced with a stiff shuffle. He wore a faded manga t-shirt, something with a spiky-haired hero, and his backward cap was pulled low over his eyes, but he still tossed out blue to Matt with a forced grin and red to me as he dropped into a chair, his knee already jittering under the table. Sarah, standing by the cooler with a soda in hand, snapped first, her voice slicing through the night like a knife. "Enough with the nicknames, Phil. What's this dad nonsense?" The air went still, Mom's humming cut off mid-note, and Phil's grin faltered. He twisted his hands in his lap, his knuckles whitening. "I just want to be part of this family," he said, his voice small but stubborn, like a kid caught in a lie. "Is that so wrong?" I felt my chest tighten, the weight of his delusion pressing down on me. "Phil," I said, stepping forward, my throat dry, "you're younger than us. I had a dad. He's gone. You don't get to claim that title." Mom set down a serving spoon with a clatter, her face paling. "Jake, he's trying," she said, her voice trembling, desperate. "He's depressed about it. Cut him some slack." My temper flared, heat rushing to my face. "Slack?" I shot back, louder than I meant. "He's 24, Mom. I don't need a bonus dad 10 years younger than me." Matt, lounging against the table with a smirk, jumped in, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Hey, Daddy Phil, got tickets for that baseball game yet? Gonna take us camping too?" Phil's face went scarlet, his chair scraping back as he stood, fists clenched. "That's disgusting," he shouted, his voice cracking. I'd never disrespect my own father like that. I was on my feet now, anger and grief crashing together. "You're not my father, Phil," I yelled, my voice raw. "You're a 24-year-old kid dating my mom. Act like it." The backyard erupted. Mom gasped, her hands flying to her mouth, tears welling up. Phil stormed toward the gate, his shoulders hunched, muttering something I couldn't catch. Sarah crossed her arms, glaring after him. "Good riddance," she said, but her voice shook a little, betraying the unease we all felt. Mom turned on me, her eyes blazing through the tears. "Jake, how could you? He poured his heart out and you humiliated him." I took a step back, guilt twisting in my gut. "Mom, he's delusional," I said, softer now, trying to reach her. "I'm not his kid. He needs to hear it." She shook her head, wiping her face, and retreated inside, the screen door slamming behind her. Matt clapped me on the shoulder, his smirk gone. "Well, that went to hell fast," he said, his tone dry but his eyes worried. Sarah grabbed a beer from the cooler, cracking it open with a hiss. "He's unhinged," she said, taking a swig. "And Mom's enabling it. What now?" I didn't have an answer, just a sinking feeling that this wasn't over. We sat there in the flickering light, the lasagna cooling untouched, the night heavy with unspoken fears. The next morning, I was nursing a coffee in my kitchen when the doorbell rang. It was Tina, our nosy neighbor, her perm bouncing as she waved a flyer for some neighborhood watch meeting. "Morning, Jake," she chirped, her smile too wide. "Heard there was a blowout last night. Phil, okay?" I tensed, gripping my mug. "He's fine," I lied, keeping it short. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Greg from the Lions Club was at the barbecue. Says Phil's been bragging about inheriting a family. Thought you should know." My stomach lurched, a cold prickle running down my spine. "What's that mean?" I asked, sharper than I intended. Tina shrugged, smirking. "Just passing it along. Keep an eye out, huh?" She sauntered off, leaving me rattled. I called Matt and Sarah over, my kitchen filling with the smell of burnt toast as I paced. "Tina says Phil's been talking about inheriting us," I said, my voice tight. Sarah frowned, her arms crossed. "Inheriting? Mom's got nothing, no money, no assets. What's he after?" Matt scratched his jaw, his mechanic's hands stained with grease. "Control, maybe? Some weird power trip? Guy's got issues." I nodded, unease settling in my bones. "We need to dig deeper," I said. "This isn't just quirky anymore." That afternoon, I tracked down Greg at the hardware store where Phil worked part-time. Greg's a big guy, 50s, all gruff voice and no nonsense, unloading paint cans from a truck. The air smelled like sawdust and oil, the clang of metal shelves ringing out. Jake, he grunted, wiping his hands on his jeans. Heard you and Phil had a spat. I nodded, leaning against a display of drills. Yeah, what's this about him inheriting a family? Greg sighed, his face hardening. Kid's a dreamer. Deadbeat dad growing up, always yapping about building a real family. He's been off lately, bragging to the Lions Club about stepping up for you guys. My gut twisted. Stepping up? I echoed. Greg nodded, tossing a can onto a shelf. Yup. Then your Reddit post hit. Someone in the club saw it, called him out. He's on thin ice with us. I blinked, thrown. My post? I'd vented online, sure, but hadn't thought it'd spread. Yeah, Greg said. He's pissed. Posted some rant online about modern manhood. Check it yourself. I thanked him, my mind racing, and pulled up Phil's social media in my truck. There it was. Fatherhood is a duty bestowed at birth. Society's lost its way. My skin crawled, a chill settling in. Back home, I showed Matt and Sarah. He's losing it, Sarah said, her voice tight, scrolling through the post. And Mom's still with him? Matt scowled, cracking his knuckles. We gotta talk to her. This is creepy. But before we could, the doorbell rang again. This time it was Liz, Phil's older sister, a wiry 30-something with sharp eyes and a nervous edge. Jake, right? She said, glancing around like she expected trouble. I need to talk about Phil. I let her in, my pulse picking up. Liz sat at my kitchen table, her hands twisting a napkin. He's spiraling, she said, her voice low. Moved back with Mom and Dad after last night, says you humiliated him. He's obsessed with this dad thing, keeps saying he's failed as a man. I leaned forward, my throat dry. Failed? He's 24, why's he so hung up on us? Liz sighed, her eyes dark. Our dad bailed when he was little. Phil's got this idea he's got to prove something. He can't talk to girls his age, gets all weird and shy. Your mom, she's his fantasy, and you guys are the prize. My stomach turned, a mix of pity and dread washing over me. He's not getting us, I said, firm. We're not his toys. Liz nodded, biting her lip. I know, but he's not letting go. He's talking about crashing your next dinner, proving he's worthy. Watch out, okay? She left, and I sat there, the weight of her words sinking in. That night, Mom called, her voice a frantic whisper over the line. Jake, Phil's gone off, says he's coming back tomorrow to fix things. What did you do? My heart sank, a cold weight dropping into my stomach as anger flared hot in my chest. Me? Mom, he's unhinged. Liz just warned me he's planning something, I shot back, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles ached. She went quiet, the silence thick with her ragged breathing. Then she sobbed, a broken sound that twisted my insides. I just want us to stay a family. I'm scared you'll drift away. My chest ached, a dull throb of guilt and love warring with the frustration boiling under my skin. We're not going anywhere, Mom, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the storm inside me. But Phil's not my dad. He's a problem. She didn't respond, just hung up with a soft click, and I stared at the phone, dread coiling tight in my gut like a snake ready to strike. Tomorrow was coming, and Phil wasn't done with us yet. I barely slept, the hum of my fridge and the creak of the house settling keeping me on edge. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Phil's teary face, his jittery hands, that damn manga t-shirt, like some overgrown kid playing house with my life. By morning, my coffee tasted like ash, my hands shaky as I texted Matt and Sarah. Phil's coming today. Liz says he's up to something. Meet me at Mom's noon. Matt replied fast. On it, Red. His sarcasm a lifeline. Sarah's response was a single word. Shit. I pulled on my work boots, the familiar weight grounding me, and headed through the gate, my pulse thudding in my ears. Mom's backyard was quiet when I got there, the string lights dark, the picnic table bare except for a half-dead potted plant she'd been nursing. She was inside, pacing the kitchen in her old robe, her face puffy from crying. Jake, she said, her voice small as she saw me. He called again, says he's bringing proof he's serious. I frowned, stepping in, the smell of stale coffee hitting me. Proof? What's that mean? She shook her head, wringing her hands. I don't know. He's so upset, Jake. I don't know what to do. I wanted to hug her, but my nerves were too raw. Mom, we'll handle it, I said, firm but gentle. Matt and Sarah are coming. They showed up 10 minutes later, Matt in his grease-stained jacket, Sarah with her hoodie pulled tight, her jaw set. What's the plan? Matt asked, cracking his knuckles like he was itching for a fight. Wait and see, I said, my stomach churning. Liz said he's crashing. Let's be ready. Sarah nodded, her eyes darting to the gate. If he pulls anything, I'm not holding back. Mom hovered by the sink, her hands trembling as she poured water she didn't drink, her fear palpable. Around 12:30, a beat-up hatchback roared into the driveway. Phil's car, rattling like it was held together with duct tape. He climbed out, his cap crooked, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, and a wild look in his eyes I hadn't seen before. My heart kicked up, adrenaline spiking as he marched through the gate, his steps uneven. "Jake," he called, his voice loud, cracking with emotion. "Matt, Sarah, I'm here to fix this." Mom stepped out, her face paling. "Phil, honey, calm down." But he waved her off, dropping the bag with a thud. "I've got proof," he said, unzipping it, his hands shaking as he pulled out a stack of papers, a baseball glove, and, Christ, a framed photo of him and Mom, photoshopped with me, Matt, and Sarah in the background like some creepy family portrait. My stomach turned, a sick mix of disbelief and rage bubbling up. "What the hell is that?" Sarah snapped, stepping forward, her fists clenched. Phil held up the papers, handwritten notes scrawled in frantic pen. "Plans," he said, his voice rising. "Camping trips, Lions Club stuff, father-son days. I've been working on it. I can be your dad, I swear." Matt laughed, a harsh bark that cut through the tension. "You're nuts, dude. We're not your science project." Phil's face twisted, hurt flashing before anger took over. "I'm not nuts," he shouted, throwing the glove down. "I'm stepping up, something my dad never did. You don't get it." I moved in, my voice low, steady despite the chaos in my head. "Phil, stop. You're not our dad, you're Mom's fiancé, and even that's shaky right now. Back off." He froze, the fight draining out of him, his shoulders slumping. I just wanted a family," he mumbled, tears streaking his face. Mom rushed to him, her hands fluttering. "Phil, it's okay." But he pulled away, grabbing his bag. "No, it's not," he said, his voice hollow. "I'll prove it another way." He stumbled back to his car, peeling out with a screech, leaving us stunned. "What the hell was that?" Sarah said, her voice shaking now, her bravado cracking. Matt kicked the glove, sending it skidding across the grass. "Guy's a loose cannon." I turned to Mom, who was sobbing quietly, her hands over her face. "Mom, you see it now, right?" I said, my throat tight. "He's not stable." She nodded, barely, her voice a whisper. I thought he'd fix things. I'm so scared of losing you all." I hugged her then, her frail frame trembling against me, guilt and relief washing over me. "You won't lose us," I said. "But Phil's gotta go." The day dragged on, tense and quiet. I called Liz, filling her in. "He's back at Mom and Dad's," she said, her voice tired. "Locked himself in his room, won't talk. I'm sorry, Jake. He's my brother, but he's messed up." I thanked her, my mind racing. Then Tina showed up, because of course she did, her eyes gleaming with gossip. "Saw Phil tear out of here," she said, leaning on the gate. "Trouble in paradise?" I glared, too drained to play nice. "Mind your business, Tina." She smirked but backed off, muttering something about drama. That night, I crashed at Mom's, sleeping on the couch with one eye open, half expecting Phil to barge back in. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You'll see I'm serious. Family matters." My blood ran cold, the hairs on my neck standing up. I showed Matt and Sarah at breakfast, the kitchen dim with early light. "He's not done," Sarah said, her voice flat, fear flickering in her eyes. Matt scowled. "We need to find him. Shut this down." I agreed, but first I dragged Mom to a diner to talk. Really talk. The place smelled like pancakes and grease, the clatter of plates, a steady hum. She sipped her coffee, her hand steadier now. "I met Phil at a low point," she said, her voice soft. "After your dad died, I felt empty. He was so eager, so alive. I thought he'd fill that hole." My chest tightened, memories of Dad's laugh flashing through me. "Mom, we fill that hole," I said, reaching for her hand. "Not him." She nodded, tears brimming. "I know. I'm done with the IVF. He pushed it, but it's crazy. I'll get help, Jake. Therapy, something." Relief hit me, but it was short-lived. Greg called as we left, his voice gruff. "Phil's off the rails, quit the hardware store, posted more crap online. Something about reclaiming his duty. Watch your back." I checked. Another rant. "A man fights for his family. I won't give up." My stomach dropped, dread clawing back. That afternoon, we tracked Phil to a buddy's place, a rundown duplex on the edge of town. Matt banged on the door, Sarah and I flanking him, my heart pounding. A scruffy guy answered. "Dave." Phil's D&D pal, all piercings and attitude. He's not here, Dave sneered, crossing his arms. MILF Hunter's too good for you losers. Matt lunged, but I grabbed him. Where is he? I demanded, my voice hard. Dave shrugged. Couch surfing, crashed with me last night, left this morning. Said he's got plans. We left, unease thick between us. Back home, Mom was calmer, talking about fostering instead of IVF, a therapist lined up. But Phil's shadow lingered. Late that night, a knock jolted me awake. Tina, breathless. Phil's car's parked down the street. Empty. Thought you'd want to know. My pulse raced as I grabbed a flashlight, Matt and Sarah behind me. We found the hatchback, papers scattered inside, more family plans, my name circled in red. He's watching us, Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. I nodded, fear and resolve settling in. Not for long. Tomorrow, we'd end this, one way or another. The street was dead quiet when we found Phil's car, the hatchback sitting crooked under a flickering street lamp like some abandoned relic. My flashlight beam cut through the dark, bouncing off the cracked windshield, and my stomach churned as I peered inside. Papers littered the front seat, scribbled notes, maps of our neighborhood, and a page with my name circled in red, jagged lines slashing through it like he'd pressed the pen too hard. Sarah's breath hitched beside me, her voice a trembling whisper. He's watching us. Matt swore under his breath, his fists clenched, the tension rolling off him in waves. I nodded, fear prickling my skin, but a hard resolve settled in my chest. Not for long, I said, my voice low, steady despite the chaos in my head. Tomorrow we'd end this, one way or another. We trudged back to Mom's, the night pressing in, thick and heavy. I couldn't shake the image of those papers. Phil's obsession laid bare in frantic handwriting. My boots scuffed the porch steps as I let us in, Mom jumping up from the couch, her eyes wide. What's wrong? She asked, her voice tight, clutching a mug she hadn't touched. I showed her the photo I'd snapped of the car's interior, and her face crumpled, a shaky hand covering her mouth. Oh, God, she whispered, sinking back down. I didn't think... Mom, it's not your fault, I said, kneeling beside her, my throat tight. But we need to stop him. He's not just upset. He's unhinged. Matt paced behind me, his shadow looming on the wall. We should call the cops, he said, his voice rough. This is stalker shit. Sarah nodded, her arms crossed tight. Yeah, before he does something stupid. Mom shook her head, tears spilling. No police, not yet. He's still Phil. I can talk to him. I wanted to argue, but her pleading eyes stopped me. Fine, I said, reluctant. But we're not waiting around. He's too close. Sleep didn't come easy. I crashed on the couch again, the springs digging into my back, my phone clutched in one hand, flashlight in the other. Every creak of the house jolted me awake, my pulse racing, half expecting Phil's face at the window. By dawn, I was bleary-eyed and wired, the smell of Mom's coffee pulling me to the kitchen. She was there, red-eyed but calmer, stirring sugar into her mug. I called his mom, she said, her voice soft. He's not home, left last night. She's worried too. My gut twisted. Then where is he? I asked, dread creeping back. She didn't answer, just stared into her cup like it held the solution. Matt and Sarah stumbled in, bleary but alert. We need a plan, Matt said, grabbing a mug. He's out there, plotting God knows what. I nodded, my mind racing. Liz said he's couch surfing. Dave's place was a bust, but he's got other D&D buddies. We start there. Sarah frowned, sipping her coffee. And if he's not with them, what's this proof he's chasing? I didn't know, but those circled names, mine, Matt's, Sarah's, flashed in my head, a warning I couldn't ignore. We split up after breakfast, Mom staying put with strict orders to lock the doors. I drove to Mike's place, another of Phil's gaming crew, a scruffy 20-something who lived in a basement apartment off Main Street. The air smelled like damp concrete and weed as I banged on the door, my knuckles stinging. Mike answered, bleary-eyed in a stained tank top, squinting at me. What, man? He grumbled, scratching his beard. Phil here? I asked, my voice hard. He smirked, leaning on the frame. Nah, MILF Hunter bailed yesterday. Said he's fixing his legacy, whatever that means. My stomach dropped. Where'd he go? I pressed. Mike shrugged. Dunno. Tried Jen up on Oak Street. He's tight with her. I called Matt and Sarah, rendezvousing at Oak Street, a quiet row of duplexes with peeling paint. Jen was new to me. Phil's D&D dungeon master, a wiry 26-year-old with dyed purple hair and a guarded stare. She opened the door a crack, chain still on, her eyes narrowing. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Phil," I said, keeping it short. "He's trouble. Where is he?" She hesitated, glancing behind her, then sighed. "He was here last night, crashed on my couch, ranting about family duty. Left this morning with a bag, said he's making it right. I told him to chill, but he's off." "Off how?" Sarah cut in, stepping up, her voice tight. Jen bit her lip, undoing the chain to let us in. The place smelled like incense and old pizza, dice scattered on a coffee table. "He's obsessed," she said, crossing her arms. "Kept showing me this notebook. Plans for you guys, some Lions Club crap. Said he's got to prove he's a man, or he's nothing." My skin prickled, a chill running down my spine. "Where'd he go?" I asked again, urgent now. Jen shrugged, uneasy. "Didn't say, just grabbed his stuff and bolted. But he mentioned the park. Something about starting there." The park. It hit me like a punch. Riverside Park, where Dad used to take us fishing, where Phil once tagged along with Mom and rambled about family outings. I thanked Jen, my mind racing as we piled into my truck. "He's going back to something familiar," I said, gripping the wheel, my knuckles white. "Some warped memory he's clinging to." Matt nodded, his jaw tight. Let's get there before he does something we can't undo. Riverside Park was quiet when we pulled up, the late morning sun glinting off the water, the air crisp with the smell of wet grass and pine. We spread out, my boots crunching gravel as I scanned the picnic area, my heart pounding. Then I saw him, Phil, by the old dock, his hatchback parked crooked nearby. He was pacing, muttering, a shovel in one hand, his duffel bag at his feet. My stomach lurched, a sick mix of fear and anger surging up. "Phil!" I shouted, striding toward him, Matt and Sarah flanking me. He spun, his eyes wild, shovel raised like a weapon. "Jake!" he yelled, his voice cracking. You're here. Good. I'm fixing it." I slowed, hands up, my pulse hammering. "Fixing what? What's the shovel for?" He grinned, a manic edge to it, and pointed at the ground. "Proof," he said, dropping the shovel to unzip his bag. He pulled out a metal box, rusted, dented, and my breath caught. "Dad's old tackle box," I said, recognition hitting me hard. Phil nodded, frantic. "Found it at a pawn shop. Your mom mentioned it once. I'm burying it here, marking our spot. Family history, see?" Sarah stepped forward, her voice shaking with fury. "You're digging up our past for your fantasy? That's sick." Phil flinched, clutching the box. "It's not a fantasy, it's real. I'm your dad now." Matt lunged, grabbing the shovel before Phil could react. "You're done," he growled, tossing it aside. I moved in, my voice low, steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Phil, this ends. You're not family. You're a stranger with a delusion. Leave us alone." He crumpled then, the box slipping from his hands, tears streaming as he sank to his knees. I wanted to be enough," he sobbed, his voice raw. My chest tightened, pity warring with the anger still simmering. "You need help," I said, softer now. "Not us." Matt called Liz while Sarah dialed 911, not for arrest, but for a psych hold. Phil didn't fight as sirens wailed in the distance, his head bowed, defeated. Back at Mom's that night, we sat around the kitchen table, the air heavy but lighter somehow. Mom cried, apologized, promised therapy. "No more strays," she said, her hand squeezing mine. Phil's car was towed, his stuff with his parents, a restraining order pending. Tina swung by, fishing for dirt, but I shut her down, too tired for games. The gate between our houses creaked as I headed home, a quiet promise we'd weather this. Phil was gone, but his shadow lingered, a reminder of how close we'd come to breaking. Phil sat there on the damp grass by the dock, his shoulders hunched, the rusted tackle box glinting in the fading sunlight as the sirens grew louder. My chest was still tight, a tangle of pity and exhaustion warring with the relief washing over me. Matt stood over him, the shovel kicked out of reach, his face hard but his eyes flickering with something softer, maybe the same conflicted mess I felt. Sarah paced a few feet away, her hands shoved deep in her hoodie pockets, her breath coming in sharp huffs like she was trying to shake off the adrenaline. The cops rolled up, 2 officers stepping out with calm efficiency, their radios crackling as they approached. Phil didn't resist, just let them guide him to the squad car, his head bowed, tears streaking his dirt-smudged face. "I just wanted to be enough," he mumbled again, barely audible, and I turned away, my throat burning. Liz arrived minutes later, her hatchback screeching to a stop beside the police cruiser. She jumped out, her sharp eyes darting between us and Phil, her face pale but resolute. I'll handle him, she said, her voice clipped, stepping toward the officers. He's my brother. He needs help, not jail. I nodded, grateful but drained, my hands trembling as I shoved them in my jeans. Get him that help, I said, my voice rough. He's not our problem anymore. She gave me a tight, tired nod, then climbed into her car to follow the police, leaving us in the quiet hum of the park, the water lapping gently against the dock like nothing had happened. We drove back to Mom's in silence, the truck's engine rumbling beneath us, my knuckles white on the wheel. The weight of the day pressed down, but there was a flicker of something lighter. Freedom, maybe, or just the promise of peace. Mom was waiting on the porch when we pulled up, her old robe wrapped tight around her, her eyes red but steady. He's gone? She asked, her voice small, stepping forward as I climbed out. I nodded, pulling her into a hug, her frail frame trembling against me. Yeah, Mom, he's gone. She clung to me, her breath hitching. I'm so sorry, Jake. I thought he'd fix me. I pulled back, holding her shoulders, my voice firm but gentle. You don't need fixing, Mom. You've got us. Always will. Matt and Sarah joined us, Matt slinging an arm around her, Sarah squeezing her hand. We're not drifting, Sarah said, her tone softer now, the edge smoothed out. But no more strays, okay? Mom managed a watery laugh, nodding. No more, I promise. Therapy starts tomorrow. I'll figure this out. Relief hit me hard, a warm wave cutting through the lingering chill, and I let myself breathe, really breathe, for the first time in days. That night, we sat around her kitchen table, the smell of reheated lasagna filling the room, the clink of forks, a quiet rhythm. The gate between our houses creaked in the breeze outside, a sound I'd always taken for granted but now felt like a lifeline, tethering us together. We didn't talk about Phil much, just ate, laughed a little, let the normalcy settle in. Tina tried her luck again, knocking with that smug grin, but I waved her off through the window, too tired for her gossip. Go sell a house or something, I muttered, and Matt chuckled, tossing a napkin at me. Days turned to weeks, and life stitched itself back together. Mom stuck to her word. Therapy every Tuesday, a foster care info session booked, her voice brighter when we talked. I went back to work, the rhythm of hammering nails and hauling lumber a steady anchor, my mind finally quiet. Matt and Sarah checked in, our Friday dinners resuming without the shadow of Phil's delusions. The restraining order went through, a legal wall between us and him, and Liz texted once. He's in a program, doing better. Sorry again. I didn't reply, just let it sit. A closed chapter I didn't need to revisit. But Phil's story didn't end so neat. Word trickled back through Greg at the hardware store, his gruff voice low over a beer one night. Kid's a mess, he said, wiping foam from his lip. Quit the program after a week, started crashing with those D&D punks again. Posted some rant online, says he's lost his purpose, blames you for stealing his family. My stomach tightened, a flicker of unease, but I shrugged it off. He can blame me all he wants, I said, my voice steady. He's not my burden. Greg nodded, clapping my shoulder. Good, stay clear. He's digging his own hole. Then came the call from Jen, Phil's old dungeon master, her voice shaky over the line. Jake, he showed up here last night, drunk, crying, waving that damn tackle box around. Said he's done fighting, but wouldn't leave till I kicked him out. He's not okay. I sighed, rubbing my temples, the weight of his pain distant but real. Thanks for the heads up, I said. Keep him away if you can. She hung up and I sat there, staring at the wall, a bitter taste in my mouth. Phil was drowning in his own misery, chasing a fantasy that never existed, and I couldn't save him, didn't want to. Months later, I was fixing the gate, new hinges, a fresh coat of paint, when Tina strolled by, her smirk faltering for once. Heard Phil's in some halfway house now, she said, almost careful. Lost his job, his friends, keeps talking about his family to anyone who'll listen. Sad, huh? I kept working, my hammer tapping steady. Yeah, I said, not looking up. Sad for him. She lingered, then walked off, and I finished the job, the gate swinging smooth and strong. Standing there, the sun dipping low, I felt it. Satisfaction, quiet and solid. We'd held on, me, Mom, Matt, Sarah, our little world intact despite Phil's chaos. He'd wanted to rewrite us, force himself into a role we'd never give, and now he was out there, broken by his own delusions, a cautionary tale I'd never forget. Life's messy, I thought, wiping sweat from my brow. You can't build a family on obsession. You earn it, fight for it, live it. We had, he hadn't. So here's the thing. If you're reading this, think about it. What lines would you draw? How far would you go to protect what's yours? Drop your thoughts. I've lived this, and I'm curious where you'd stand. Phil's still out there, chasing ghosts, and we're here, stronger for it. Your move.